I know that y'all feeling a certain type of way about electric vehicles. So I want to make sure that I tackle this whole debacle of what's going on between Hertz and Tesla. Hertz and Tesla. All right. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get to the very, 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 very last story of 2023, y'all.
Tesla on the company's new agreement with car rental giant Hertz.
A few months out of bankruptcy, says it's going to order 100,000
Tesla Model 3s. Those purchases, total value of about $4.2 billion.
In October 2021, Hertz publicly announced it intended to buy 100,000 Tesla vehicles. Shares of both companies soared.
Check out shares of Tesla soaring to all-time highs today, launching the company into the trillion-dollar club for the first time.
First mover advantage aside, it would help Hertz distinguish itself in an industry plagued by commoditization, where the color of a brand's signage seems to be the only differentiator.
If you or I went to the airport and we went to the green counter, the red counter, or the yellow counter, we're still going to get the same white Toyota Camry.
But only a couple of years in, while the rental company is posting strong finances, its EV strategy is facing some serious challenges. Price.
You know that was wild about rental car companies now. When I go through an airport, even when I came here to Miami, I don't stop at counters anymore. But the counters be flooded. I don't understand, y'all. Why are the counters so flooded with people when we got technology now? We got technology now. Why is the counter so flooded with people when we got technology now? Y'all don't book through the online, or y'all don't book through the app when y'all booking y'all rental cars when y'all going to these places? I go straight over to Enterprise, or I go to National. I book my car, or I do it online, or I actually have somebody book it for me because they got my account. And then I go straight over to the cars. I go straight over to the cars, and then most of the time I'll get an upgrade, or they'll give me an upgrade or something like that. And then I get up out of there. I tip them, and I get up out of there. Oh, you don't know nothing about that. Y'all don't tip y'all people at the rental car agencies. I do, and they know me by name, and they make sure that I'm taken care of. But I never, as soon as I jump off the plane, I go straight over to baggage claim, get my bags, go straight over to, I'm about to start flying private. If y'all see me flying private in 2024 going about a year in, you know why. Because all of this work that you got to do, go through security, it's not even that bad. Go through security. Hopefully you're not waiting too long. You might go into the Sky Club if you got a little bit of time. And then you got to get on the plane. They treat you really well because most of the time you fly first class. Get off the plane, wait for some. It was a bad kid over in first class. And I sat next to his mama. We switched seats. Get on a plane, wait to the plane. Everybody get into the aisle before you can get off. Then you got to go over to baggage claim. When you get to baggage claim, you get your stuff, and then you got to go over to the rental car agency. And y'all want to wait? Y'all want to wait at the counter to get y'all rental car? You could forget it, bro.
Seeing troubles, skyrocketing repair costs, and low resale values.
There's no technology change, EVs included, that run a straight line without some hiccups and challenges. And that's this. The line from A to B is not always straight.
Meanwhile, big rental rivals hung back on EVs. Hertz's investors are divided over what to do next. Either kill, or at least pause, the EV initiative, or try to find a way to make it work.
I haven't seen this yet, so this would be interesting for me to review. Somebody said they're going to be reviewing private flights. A lot of money. Let's get them to give you a private flight.
Hertz, a more than century-old rental company, filed for bankruptcy in May 2020 as demand for rentals dried up during the coronavirus pandemic. Even before the pandemic, Hertz had a number of challenges. Sales grew from about $7.6 billion in 2010 to a peak of about $11 billion in 2014.
Somebody said, save that money, big dog. No, man. Sometimes you got to spend the money on because you're saving time, and it puts you in a better space mentally. It's not always about saving money, man. I don't know what they told y'all that, but if you can swing it, if you can actually justify it from a business perspective, and that it saves you more time for you to do whatever it is that you're gonna do or whatever. I mean, why wouldn't I ride first class? for example. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a business expense, number one, and it allows for me to make sure that I have the best experience, that I'm better rested so that I can operate at my top capacity and I make way more money than I can justify trying to save between first class and riding main or riding economy, you know? And then when you start looking at it in the same vein as far as first class versus private, and again, you don't have to buy a plane or you don't have to rent out the whole plane, but, you know, they have different services depending on what main cities you fly into and from that could justify the price that's probably not too much far off from what you paying for first class. I'll give you an example, bro. When I flew here, because it's, you know, and I booked my tickets to come to Miami because I already know what it's like here. When I flew here to come to Miami, for me, my daughter, let's just say for 3 people, right? For 3 people in Miami, it basically cost me, like, for first class tickets, it was like $8,000 round trip. It's like $7,000 something, $8,000 round trip. Now, me personally, I personally like to fly first class because, you know, it's ideal for me. You know what I'm saying? I prefer, but even the ones that were main and the ones that was Delta Comfort and stuff like that, they wasn't too far off. They wasn't too far off. It's not like, you know, you was getting like a huge discounts just because you wasn't flying first class. That's just what it was at this time of the year, trying to get back and forth to Miami, because a lot of people come down to Miami because it's one of the best weather-wise, and also, you know, what the lifestyle is. It's one of the best weather-wise that you can get here. And even if you fly somewhere else that got even better weather like Hawaii, it's going to be a crazy amount of money. A crazy amount of money. Now, somebody say, well, Spirit could have got you there for $100. That's cool. Go ahead and fly Spirit. I'm cool with it. I'm not trying to stop you.
But fell to about $9.8 billion in 2019. Pre-bankruptcy, the stock had been highly volatile, climbed as high as $109.48 in 2014, and sank as low as $3.70.
Somebody said AK is stupid. Act your wage. I didn't say AGE. Act your WAGE. Act your wage. When I flew over to Tokyo, I paid $30. And I showed those receipts too. When I flew over to Tokyo, I paid $30,000 for a round trip back and forth.
Since the day before Hertz filed. In addition to the Hertz rental brand with stands at airports or parking garages, the company has a number of other businesses, including car sales, truck, van, and equipment rentals, and a leasing division. It also acquired the Dollar and Thrifty brands in 2012. The company operates in 160 countries and jurisdictions around the world. 13 months after filing for Chapter 11, the company emerged from bankruptcy, unveiling big plans.
When you're coming out of a process like that, you need a story to tell investors. People want to know what your strategy is, what's going to be different this time.
Some moves were expected, securing more corporate accounts, like a big partnership with American Express, cleaning up its Dollar and Thrifty brands, which had suffered from underinvestment, and a pledge to focus more on cost efficiency. But the big move was its plan to buy 100,000 Teslas, mostly Model 3 sedans, for its US and European operations. It also planned to set up about 3,000 fast chargers for 65 markets. Both Tesla and Hertz share prices popped on the news. Hertz jumped 10% over the previous close, and over the course of the next week rose another whopping 29%. Tesla shares rose 12.7% on the day over the previous close, and then another 14.4% through November 2nd, the day Tesla's CEO Elon Musk took to Twitter to break some news.
They didn't have a fleet deal. They didn't have a special contract with Tesla. And Elon Musk let all the excitement kind of go viral before he, 1 week later, clarified that Hertz didn't have a fleet contract with Tesla.
He added that he was surprised by the stock pop since he thought the Hertz deal has had zero effect on Tesla's economics. According to its 2022 10-K, Hertz has large-scale acquisition agreements with Tesla, Polestar, and General Motors, but the company neither denied nor confirmed the details with CNBC. At the time of the filing, the goal was to convert 1/4 of Hertz's fleet to electric. Hertz doesn't break out the amount of
Let me see something real quickly. Make sure I ain't got my Sky Miles numbers on here. All right, the Sky Miles numbers is not on there. Let me see. I spent something like that. This was when I went to Japan. Yep, this is when I went to Japan. That's how much I paid. 3 people, $10,186 a piece, and I paid $30,000. But I flew Delta One. Now you can fly something else, you know what I'm saying, and you can do it. You can do it a little bit differently, but I'm not about to forego the best sleeping experience when I got to be on a plane for a whole lot of time in order to try to save money. I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's a little bit different. I'm not trying to save money on that type of time. Now, Detroit to Miami, I think it was $2,200 or $2,300 a person, something like that. Oh, I actually didn't spend as much. I spent a little bit less. So I spent $6,800 for 3 people. So total passengers that, and then I spent like $7,000. So I'll pay for the experience. I don't care about money like that. Money don't mean nothing to me like that. Like, I care more about experiences at this point in my life and going forward, more than I care about spending money. If I could be as comfortable as possible, if I could sleep on the plane, if I can avoid all of the crying, if I can get 3 meals, if I can make sure that I work in comfort and be able to get stuff done, if I can pay attention to what's happening here and there, if I could wake up and I could be 100%, in my bag or whatever, then I'd rather do that than try to penny pinch and save some money. But I'm not telling you that that's what you should do. I'm telling you that that's what you should shoot for. I do it a little bit differently. I think other people should travel differently too.
Money it spends on EVs, but we can make some assumptions. In 2022, the company ended the year with 428,700 vehicles in the Americas and 118,700 international.
See, and then again, and I know I'm just having a conversation because this is what we do. We kind of mix it up. What I'm trying to figure out, if I'm paying $30,000 for a flight, but it costs you way more internationally, or if I'm gonna spend $7,000, then I might as well start exploring, because I don't mind paying more for the experience and not have to go through security. I can get to the airport later. I ain't got to go through baggage claim and all of that stuff. I might want to do it a little bit differently as far as paying for individual seats on private planes, depending on what hub I fly out of, instead of spending money just because I'm trying to save a couple dollars. You know what I'm saying? I'll pay for the experience if it makes sense. Let me get back to Hertz. Y'all got me distracted.
Percent of its fleet, or about 49,266 vehicles, were Teslas. This isn't perfect, but if you assume Hertz paid about $50,000 on average for each Tesla, as some analysts who follow the company think, that would be about $2.5 billion in Tesla vehicles alone. That doesn't include any other infrastructure or expenses Hertz had to undertake in 2022.
And the reason why this is a dumb move by Hertz in order to try to go electric is because I don't believe that they're benefiting from it. This was a bad business move, but it wasn't a bad business move because it was an EV. It was a bad business move because Hertz is not making a good informed decision. First of all, you get a much bigger discount if you go fleet sales. So a lot of times when you see those Chevy Malibus or you see a whole bunch of Jeeps or something like that, they're charging you a lot of money on the front end as far as to the customer, and they may even charge you more money to fill it up or to fuel and things like that. So Hertz wouldn't be incurring the charges on that end, but the fact that they're not getting a fleet deal, and they probably have to use, time and money in order to understand it and everything like that, and they spending an additional $2.5 billion, it's hard to be able to recoup that if you're not getting a fleet sales deal, which the automakers make less money on, but you make more money on because you're buying it in bulk, which means that you get a better deal. But they wanted to be a person that used that in order to advertise, and they got Tom Brady in the advertisements and stuff like that. So they spent the extra money for the fanfare, but I don't think that people are going to move to go to Hertz rather than go to Enterprise or National and Alamo and all of that other type of stuff just because you're sitting on a Tesla.
Overall, globally, it spent $10.6 billion on new vehicles that year.
This EV strategy really was the one that kind of took off, and Hertz became, I guess, kind of affiliated with that. That became kind of their calling card in the market, and something that a lot of folks kind of latched onto and said, hey, this seems like a really interesting story. I'm going to follow this.
These three car rental firms control about 95% of the market. Hertz was the only one to make an EV push this big. Hertz's intention was to be a first mover. The industry has received some pressure to green its fleets, and the idea was that it would help its corporate customers too.
Why are people? What you saying? You can't bring the car back on E? Can't charge you for bringing the car back on E? They absolutely can charge you, and they do charge you. Tell me you're not used to renting cars without telling me you're not used to renting cars. They will. Why do you think that they make you put a credit card on file? They will charge you for tolls that you didn't pay for. They will charge you for damage that you incurred. They will charge you for smoking in the vehicle. And they absolutely, the first thing that they're going to charge you for is if you bring that car back on E. As a matter of fact, they tell you, do you want to pay for fuel ahead of time or do you want to fill it up yourself? Basically only giving you two options and saying that you're going to pay for this regardless. I don't know where y'all renting cars from, Rent-A-Jalopy or something like that, but they 100% will charge you for bringing the car back on E. The customer is going to incur the cost of fuel, which doesn't make any sense as to why they will pay full price for a bunch of Model 3s and Model Ys.
Organizations around the globe really are interested in choosing EVs for their employees. It really helps them to meet their own ESG goals. And we see a lot of corporate demand, both here in North America as well as in Europe.
Hertz also saw an opportunity to introduce EVs to ordinary consumers who might be curious but reluctant to commit to a purchase outright.
In the leisure space, there is also a lot of organic demand, certainly for customers who are perhaps curious about whether...
Yes, you listen, Kenjay, they will charge you for not having the car charged. You still have to charge the car. What I'm saying is they will charge you for everything, even whether it's fuel or whether it's the amount that they have to spend to charge the car, an EV. They will still charge you. I don't know what you don't think that Enterprise or National rent. When I was in where did we go? Tampa. When I was in Tampa, I rented an all electric Mercedes, and I never even filled it back up, but I did charge it when I got to my brother's house and stuff like that. They will charge you. Y'all better start reading y'all contracts. They will charge you if you did not charge that car up. I'm telling you.
Or not an EV would fit with their lifestyle. And so choosing an electric vehicle, like a test drive, is something that we see. And we see situations where customers are choosing, an EV both for long road trips as well as for, shorter drives.
In 2016, Hertz struck a partnership with Uber to start renting out fuel-burning vehicles to rideshare drivers. Hertz considered the electrification of rideshare a fast-approaching requirement, not merely an option. New York City's Green Rides program requires 100% of rideshare trips to be either zero emissions or wheelchair accessible by 2030.
So all the cars are going to be electric anyway.
Despite an investment of at least $2.5 billion, the expected demand from corporate and private customers has not materialized.
Consumers generally, still have a little bit of anxiety, both about range and some of the, know-how when it comes to EVs. And to that end, that has really informed our strategy around building resource.
The one thing about Tesla that I really, really like as a consumer, not as an investor, but as a consumer, I have an all-electric Porsche Taycan, and Rita was driving a Model Y for a while, for a few years, as one of the cars that she was driving as a regular, everyday get-around car. The Tesla charger, for whatever reason, the battery, even a regular trickle charger, it charges much faster on Teslas than any other electric car, whether you Mercedes, Porsche, Polestar, Polestar is a form of Volvo. General Motors, Ford Motor Company, Rivian, all of that. For whatever reason, how Tesla has programmed their cars to be able to charge. Now, I think that my Porsche holds a charge much better, but for whatever reason, you being able to charge your car much faster in a Tesla is lightning ahead of every other automaker for whatever reason. I don't know what that is. Maybe it drains a little bit faster. I don't know. I haven't spent a whole lot of time in them because I haven't driven them like that. Rita's driven them. But they charge way faster than every other automaker that I've ever seen. That's one thing, right? And so with that being said, I was having a conversation with Anna yesterday because, we was anticipating getting an Uber instead of just walking down the street a few blocks as I went to PS Social. And I was saying that, if anybody was to ever do ride sharing, then you should get an electric vehicle. Do not get a gas vehicle, in my opinion, if you do not get a Tesla, an all electric vehicle, because literally you will save yourself a ton of money versus whatever it's going to cost you as far as vehicle gas and maintenance, because you got to remember it doesn't have any engine, so it doesn't have any oil changes, don't have to change no spark plugs, it has less mechanical parts that's moving, so you have less of a chance to have to spend money on maintenance. And then also when it comes to costs, it's a lot of places where you can literally charge for free. I charge my car for free every single day, regardless. When I get over to Detroit, I charge my car for free all the time. I charge my car for free all the time. And so here in Miami, if you live in more ideal weather, if you're doing Uber Eats or Grubhub or something like that, most of the people that deliver your food actually delivers them on scooters. They deliver them on scooters or they deliver them on electric bikes. And so that allows for them to be a lot more efficient with their gas. It allows for them to get faster through traffic and things like that. So if you're going to do these hustles, you got to learn how to hack your way to more success to keep more money in your pocket or to keep more profit inside of your pocket.
And really helping with that challenge.
Demand that did arise tended to come from customers who were already Tesla or EV owners. What has worked, sort of, is the ride-sharing segment of the business. As of December 2022, 65 to 70% of the EVs in Hertz's fleet were utilized by rideshare drivers.
They didn't want those things sitting around. They're very expensive cars. And so it made all the sense in the world to Hertz, right?
Because they didn't get a fleet.
We're going to extend our normal rideshare rental program, and we're going to throw Teslas into it and other EVs.
I mean, I think from my perspective, Hertz and Uber has been a great partnership. I think that Uber really needs Hertz and Hertz really needs Uber.
Harry Campbell is the founder and CEO of The Rideshare Guy, a website and podcast dedicated to Uber and Lyft drivers and other gig economy workers.
There's really no better use case in my mind than an Uber driver who's going to put 1,500 miles a week on their car to not only rent a car, but to rent an electric vehicle.
Renting to rideshare companies is cost-effective. There's a 1-week minimum, and costs of turning a vehicle are substantially cut. The challenge, though, is that Hertz gets about $43 per day, rather than the $75 to $90 it gets for a consumer or corporate rental. There's also been a disproportionate number of accidents. While Hertz says routine maintenance costs on EVs are lower, the cost of repairing the damage from accidents is twice what it would be for an internal combustion vehicle.
And I agree with that because I've experienced it. A lot of y'all have known that I had documented it, and it's funny because I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss the show, but I wound up going all the way home. But I had got in an accident with my Porsche. It's not just a Tesla, it's all EV vehicles. And one of the reasons, I didn't actually have to pay for the repair myself. My insurance company handled it. But we had to go back and forth with the insurance company because on my insurance, for whatever reason, with Progressive, I'm not with Progressive anymore, but with Progressive, they charge more money because it is an EV vehicle because the cost to repair is more. And I think that a lot of that comes along with the requirements from the manufacturers, not necessarily the actual repair cost of the vehicles. For example, the requirement for the manufacturer for Porsche in particular is that if you get in an accident, there are certain parts of the car that they're forcing you to pay for repair in order to certify it as, whatever their certification is, because they only have authorized Porsche dealerships or authorized Porsche places that repair your vehicles. You have to get parts of the car that's to be repaired, even if that part of the car is not damaged. And then also they're taking into consideration, even though you don't have engine, even though you don't have spark plugs and all of that stuff, and you don't have to get oil changes and things, they're anticipating the repair cost or the totaling of the vehicle based off of what the battery cost is. So because you're removing a lot of the manufacturing costs that comes along with internal combustion engines, and it's thousands and thousands of less parts, they then had to put that cost into the battery, even though the battery costs are continuing to go down over a period of time. So, for example, I know that Connie is very upset with me inside of the chat, and that's okay. I'm with you, Connie. That's cool. Shout out to Connie Harris. She's been with me for a long time now, and Chat Lives Matters. Connie, for example, will say, Anton, you keep saying that crap, but you haven't had to replace a $14,000 battery. Okay, that's fair, Connie. But do you know that the cost of the battery has gone down significantly since they've started using batteries inside of electric vehicles since its inception? Because the worldwide adoption of it and the manufacturing of it, the cost to build those items is driven out based off of scale. Okay, so the cost of something initially, especially when you're only 1 to 2% of U.S. vehicles sold or 5% of U.S. vehicles sold, is going to be significantly higher than if you can produce those things at scale. So over periods of time, as we continue to get more vehicles on the road, and it's like that for anything, whether you doing infrastructure updates, whether you're selling couches or whether you're selling laptops, the cost of it, if you look at what the cost of what a laptop was or what they were charging for laptops or even computers, and then you account for inflation, the cost of a computer is significantly more, even though we have a much better product today, because as they continue to innovate, as they continue to scale, the cost of that computer is going to go down. And so, of course, it's going to be higher. And of course, you're going to get pushed back by people that's used to doing things a certain way because they don't understand economies of scale. As you continue to implement it, and this is one of the reasons why the world is moving much faster than we are in the United States of America. We only care about American principles. We don't care about competing with the world. The cost of it is going to continue to go down. And then I've even read a report. It's so funny because I just got this today, because people will say, well, what about, being able to power it and, what you got to use fossil fuels in order to continue to do it? Well, I was just looking at different press releases. And it's funny because, hold on, let me pull this up. I want to make sure that I get it. I want to make sure that I get the right one. I don't even know if it's on this phone because I screenshotted it. Pizza Hut. Fossil fuels only account for, zero emission whatever is only 40% now. 40% of what we produce here in the United States of America, right? So it's getting cleaner every day the more that you impact or the more that you continue to innovate within a space. Hold on, I got to find this because you know me, I like my receipts. I guess I didn't screenshot it on this phone. Screenshotted some other stuff, but I didn't screenshot that one. Hold on. Married that. I'll see if I can find that article online right now. But basically what I'm telling you is that as you continue to embrace change, 40%. I wish I could find it. I always like to have the receipts. 40% renewable energy. Let me see something. Today, some 40% of power generated globally is renewable due to rapid deployment in the past decade. So it takes for you to innovate over a period of time in order to implement change. And I guess that's the world's power. I don't think that that's here in the United States of America per se. And this is according to a media release. Here, let me pull this up just so I can show you, because I don't want you to think that I'm just giving you my opinion. This is saying that today some 40% of power generated globally is renewable due to rapid deployment in the past decade, according to the report. And the report was called, I believe, 2022 Year-End Review: Climate-Driven Global Renewable Energy Potential Resources and Energy Demand. It goes on to say that renewable energy, primarily driven by dynamic forces of solar, wind, and water cycle, has surged to the forefront of our global power generation. And so it goes into documenting this. And this is the type of stuff that I study and I read on a regular basis. I was actually reading it on my phone, but I just tried to pull it up really quickly. Infrastructure updates and continuing to invest in what we're doing is the thing that's going to ultimately drive out the cost of whatever innovation is. Now, I know that people want to continue to hold on to gas vehicles, and that's justifiable because they used to doing it a certain way. But also on top of that, you got to remember that people still wanted horses when we were producing cars, and they were saying that horses is the best thing for them because that's what they were used to. You have to embrace change, and that's where the money is. Money is in change. Money is in embracing change. Money is in not staying doing what you've been doing for a long time. And it's coming regardless. It's coming regardless. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. It doesn't matter whether I like it or not. I like gas vehicles. I just bought another one. And I bought a 96 Impala earlier this year.